the pie chart gives the distribution of runs scored by all the 5 Indian batsmen in a one-day international match as a percentage of the total runs scored by the 5 batsmen. So we are talking about this pie chart over here, and this pie chart is giving us the distribution of runs scored by all 5 Indian batsmen as a percentage of total runs scored by the 5 batsmen. So that means Dhawan is scoring 5.6% of the total runs scored in that match. Kohli scored 32.8% of the total runs scored in that match. Similarly, Dhoni scored 11.2% of the total runs scored in that match. Rohit scored 28% of the total runs scored in that match, and similarly Rahane scored 22.4% of the total runs scored in that match. The table gives the distribution of the fours and sixers scored by each of the batsmen as a percentage of the total fours and sixes respectively scored by all of them. Now we have this table over here which is providing us the percentage of fours and sixes that are being scored by each batsman as a percentage of total fours and sixes scored by all of them. So let us see how to read the table. For Dhoni we have fours as 20%. That means the number of fours by Dhoni upon numbers of fours and sixes by all into 100, that will be equal to 20%. So fours by Dhoni upon fours and sixes by all into 100, that will be equal to 20%. Similarly, sixes by Dhoni upon fours and sixes by all into 100, for Dhoni it is again 20%. So this is the data that has been provided in the table. Reading further, India's total score is the sum of scores made by these batsmen and the extras. So there are some extra runs as well in the total score of India, which were numerically equal to the runs scored in sixes by these batsmen. So that means the runs which have been scored in extras, they are numerically equal to the runs scored in sixes by these batsmen. So that means how to find out the runs scored in extras? Extras will be equal to 6 into number of sixes by all. This will be the runs scored in extras, because we have to take care of the number of sixes hit by all, and if we multiply it by 6, then we'll be getting the number of runs scored in extras. I hope everything is clear so far. Let us read further. It is also known that none of the batsmen made a double century, 200 or more runs in the match. So we have also been told that no batsman is scoring more than 200 runs. Now in the pie chart that we have, we just have the percentage of runs scored as a percentage of total runs for all the batsmen. So using the pie chart, we can simply find out the ratio of runs that was scored by all these batsmen. So if we take the ratio of Dhoni, then Rohit, then Rahane, then Dhawan, then Kohli. So what will be the ratio? Dhoni scored 11.2, ratio Rohit scored 28, Rahane scored 22.4, Dhawan scored 5.6, and Kohli scored 32.8. So all these numbers are divisible by 8. So let me simplify the ratio. It will be 1.4 ratio, 3.5 ratio, 2.8 ratio, 0.7 ratio, 4.1. Now if we multiply the whole ratio by 10, then we'll get all integers. So 14 ratio, 35 ratio, 28 ratio, 7 ratio, 41. This is the simplest ratio that we can find out from here. So this is the ratio of runs scored by all these batsmen. If we find out the ratio of 4 scored by these batsmen, then here 20, 28, 8, 44, we can divide all the numbers by 4. So ratio will be 5, 5, 2, 2, 11. This will be the ratio of 4 scored by them. Similarly, the ratio of 6 is scored by them. See, we have 20, 20, 0, 20, 40. So all are divisible by 20. If we simplify the ratio, it becomes 1 ratio, 1 ratio, 0 ratio, 1 ratio, 2. So now we have the ratio of runs scored by them. We also have the number of fours scored by them and the ratio of number of sixes scored by them. So let us form a table in which we can put the total runs scored by them, number of fours scored by them, number of sixes scored by them. Let's go to the next slide. We'll form such a table. So this is the table that we have formed. This is the ratio of number of runs scored, which was 14, 35, 28, 7, 41. We calculated it earlier. And the ratio of number of fours scored is 5, 5, 2, 2, 11. And ratio of number of sixes scored is also there. So let me multiply all the ratios by x over here for the number of runs scored. So it becomes 14x, 35x, 28x, 7x and 41x. Similarly, if we want to find out the ratio of runs scored in fours, then I will have to multiply all the numbers by 4 first, all the ratios by 4 first, because then only we'll get the number of runs scored in fours. Till now we had only the number of fours scored. If we multiply them by 4, we'll be getting the number of runs scored by them in fours. And since this is a ratio, so we need a common variable over here. Let it be y. So I'll be multiplying everything by y over here. Similarly, for ratio of number of sixes scored, I will have to multiply everything by 6 first, because then only we'll be getting the runs scored in sixes. And since it was a ratio, so we also need a common variable over here. Let it be z. So now we have the number of runs scored, total runs scored. We have number of runs scored in fours, number of runs scored in sixes. Now the first question that we have is, which of the following cannot be India's score in the match? So if we look into the table, we have the runs scored by each and every batsman. We were given a clue at the last, which was, it is also known that none of the batsmen made a double century or more than 200 runs. So if we look at Kohli over here, Kohli's score is 41x. So what can be the maximum value of x over here? X will be less than 5, because if x equal to 5, the run scored by Kohli will become 205, which is not possible because no batsman can score a double century. So that means the values of x will be less than 5. So x will only be taking values less than 5. They can be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let us now check whether x equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 is possible or not. So if we take x equal to 1 over here, what will be the minimum number of runs scored by any batsman? It will be for Dhawan, because for Dhawan we have 7x. So runs scored by Dhawan will be 7 runs. And what can be the minimum number of runs scored by Dhawan in fours and sixes? Let's calculate it. For minimum, we'll have to take the minimum value of y and z. So for Dhawan, we'll have number of runs scored in fours equal to 8y and number of runs scored in sixes equal to 6z. So what will be the minimum value of this? So we'll take y equal to 1, z equal to 1, which will give us the minimum number of runs scored by Dhawan in fours and sixes equal to 14. Now Dhawan is scoring runs in fours and sixes equal to 14, while his total runs are just 7. So there's a contradiction over here. Hence he cannot take value of x equal to 1. So let us try with x equal to 2. If we try with x equal to 2, then what will be the minimum number of runs scored by Dhawan? It will be equal to 14 runs. And yes, Dhawan can score 14 runs in fours and sixes as well. So that means the minimum value of x that will be satisfying every condition will be 2 over here. Similarly, 3 also can be the value of x, 4 also can be the value of x. Now, according to the first question, we need to find out which of the following cannot be India's score in the match. So let us try to find out the minimum score of India in the match. Minimum score will be found when x will be equal to 2. So if x equal to 2, runs will be 14 into 2, that means 28, plus 35x means 35 into 2, which gives me 70, plus 28x by Rahane, that means 28 into 2, 56, plus 7x, that means 7 into 2 by Dhawan, which gives me 14, plus 41x by Kohli, so 41 into 2 gives me 82. Now we were also given that India's total score is the sum of scores made by these batsmen and the extras. So that means these are the runs made by these batsmen. We'll also include extras into it. So if I calculate the minimum runs, then 28 plus 70, that means 98 plus 56. This sum gives me 250 plus extras. So that means runs will be equal to 250 plus extras. So now let us try to find out the extras. What was the extras? Extras were number of runs scored in sixes by all batsmen. So if we take the minimum case over here, we know that Dhawan was scoring 14 runs. So how can he score 14 runs? He can hit 1-4 and 1-6 because we have 2 into 4 into y as the number of runs scored by Dhawan in fours and 6z as the number of runs scored in sixes by Dhawan. So what will be the minimum number of fours and sixes by Dhawan? It will be equal to 1-4 and 1-6 will be hit by Dhawan. So that means if Dhawan has scored 1-6, we can include this 6 into the extras. And similarly, we'll have to find out the sixes hit by all other batsmen and we'll include those runs into this extras. So if I calculate the minimum value of extras, it will definitely be greater than 250 because runs are equal to 250 plus extras, and we know that extras will definitely be more than 0 over here. So if I calculate the total runs, that means the total score of India will definitely be greater than 250. And if we look at the options over here, we have 435, 250, 560 and 405. So if total score has to be greater than 250, then we can say that option B, 250, cannot be the score of India in the match, because even the minimum score is greater than 250. So 250 cannot be scored by India in the match. So I hope you understood this. We just calculated the minimum possible number of runs, which was equal to 250 plus extras. And while calculating the extras, we can easily find out that the number of sixes will definitely be greater than 1. So the extras will also be greater than 0. So the minimum value of runs scored will be greater than 250. Hence from the options we can say that 250 cannot be the score of India in the match. Let's try to solve the next question. We'll keep our table as it is. We'll just be modifying the values of x, y, z according to the conditions. The second question is, if the runs can only be scored through 1s, 2s, 4s and 6s, then the minimum number of balls faced by Rahane when his score in 1s is greater than his score in 2s. So if we want minimum number of balls faced by Rahane, we must consider minimum runs scored by Rahane. Minimum runs scored by Rahane will be when x will be equal to 2, because we know that the minimum value of x satisfying all the conditions was 2. So for minimum runs, x will be equal to 2. So runs by Rahane, they will be equal to 28 into 2, that means 56. Now if we look at Rahane over here, then we can see that Rahane is scoring 0 runs in sixes because he is hitting 0 sixes. So that means Rahane will score these 56 runs only in 1s or 2s or 4s. Now what will be the run scored by Rahane in 4s? It will be equal to 4 into 2 into y. Now when x equal to 2, what will be the value of y that will be satisfying all the conditions? See, the number of runs scored by all these batsmen will be 4 into 5 into y, 4 into 5 into y, 4 into 2 into y, 4 into 11 into y. And 14x will be equal to 28, this will be 70, this will be 56, this will be 14, this will be 82. So what will be the value of y that will be satisfying all the conditions? The only value of y that will satisfy all the conditions over here will be 1 only. Because if you put y equal to 2, and if we look at the score of Dhoni has scored total 28 runs, and if we find out the score of Dhoni in 4s, when y equal to 2, then this becomes 5 4s are 20, 22s are 40. So the score of Dhoni in 4s becomes more than the runs scored by him in total. So that means y equal to 2 is violating. We cannot have y equal to 2. We'll just keep y equal to 1 because y equal to 1 will satisfy all the conditions. So if y equal to 1, what will be the run scored by Rahane in 4s? It will be equal to 8 runs according to the table. So now we know that out of these 56 runs, Rahane will score 8 in 4. So how many runs are remaining? 56 minus 8, that means 48. Now these 48 runs will be scored by either ones or twos, and we have been given that the score of Rahane in ones is greater than his score in twos. Now to score 8 runs by fours, Rahane faced 2 balls because he scored 8 runs by fours, so he faced 2 balls. Now we have to distribute these 48 runs into ones and twos so that score in 1 is greater than score in twos. So that means score in ones must be greater than half of 48. That means we should have 25 runs here, 23 runs here. But is it possible to score 23 runs in twos? No, it is not possible. So we'll make it 26 here and 22 here. So in how many balls will 26 runs be scored by using ones? We'll have 26 balls here. And how many balls do we need to make 22 runs by twos only? We need 11 balls. So we needed 11 balls here, 26 balls here, and 2 balls to hit fours. So in total we have 26 plus 11 plus 2 balls, which gives me 39 balls. So that means if the runs can only be scored through 1, 2, 4, 6, then the minimum number of balls faced by Rahane will be 39 balls when he is scoring more runs in ones than twos. First of all, we found out that he is hitting 0 sixes, so we completely ignored the number of sixes. Then we come to know that he is hitting just 2 fours, so he'll take 2 balls for that. Then we got a score of 48, we distributed it, and then we got to know that he's taking 26 balls to score runs in ones and 11 balls to score 22 runs in twos. Hence we finally have the total number of balls consumed by him, which is 39. Then the next question is, if runs can be scored only through 1, 2, 4, 6, the number of balls faced by Kohli was. And we are talking about the minimum number of balls faced by Kohli. For minimum number of balls faced, we should consider the minimum score of Kohli. Kohli is scoring 41x, minimum value of x was 2. So minimum runs by Kohli will be equal to 41 into 2, which gives me 82. Now in the previous question we got to know that the only value of y that is satisfying everything is 1. So if we take y equal to 1, runs scored by Kohli in fours will be 11 into 4 into 1, that means 44 runs. So 82 minus 44, that means 38 runs are remaining. And how many balls did Kohli consume to make 44 runs? He consumed 11 balls. Now we need to work upon the value of z also. So if x equal to 2, Dhawan will score 14 runs. Value of y is 1, so he'll score 8 runs in fours, and the remaining 6 runs will be scored in sixes. So what will be the value of z so that he makes only 6 runs through sixes? Z will be equal to 1. So that means the only value of z that is satisfying here is 1. So z will be equal to 1. So that means Kohli scored just 2 into 6 into 1, that means 12 runs through sixes. To score 12 runs through sixes, he must face 2 balls. So he's taking 2 balls to score 12 runs through sixes. So that means 44 runs have been made by using fours, 12 runs by sixes. So how many? We'll remove 12 more runs from 38 runs that were remaining. So 38 minus 12, that means 26 runs are remaining now. Now these 26 runs will be scored by just ones and twos. So how can we minimize the number of balls to score 26 runs? He should score all 26 runs in twos. So that means he'll face 13 balls to make 26 runs. So in total, how many balls were consumed by him? 11 plus 2 plus 13, which gives me 26 balls. So minimum 26 balls were consumed by Kohli to make 82 runs. Now the last question is, the number of fours scored by the Indian batsman was at least. Now we know that everything will be multiplied by 4y. Then only we'll get the number of runs scored in fours. So the only value of y satisfying was 1. So we can say that 5 fours were hit by Dhoni, 5 were hit by Rohit, 2 by Rahane, 2 by Dhawan, 11 by Kohli. So the minimum number of fours scored by Indian batsmen will be 5 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 11, which gives me 25. So this set was very logical. I hope you understood the solution. So first of all, we found out the possible values of x, and then according to that we found out the values of y and z that was satisfying. For minimum number of balls, we minimize the runs. So that is how we proceeded in this set. If you have any doubt, please ask me again. Thank you.